It's after it's
Check, check, mic check, testing, 1, 2, test, test, check one, check one. Check one. Check one, check one. Yeah, I hear it now. I hear me. We are working it out. Thank you for your patience.
Check saxophone. Is on the house. Play again.
Check one, check one, check one. You got me? Okay. I need my headphones back.
Yeah, I know. I don't read it. You guys are good. You hits the kick. Get drone boat. saying, I hear your snare.
Yeah, you hear the bottom snare, right.
Test, there it. Yeah, check, 1, 2, test. 1, 2, check 1. Myron, you hear me okay? Tony, you hear me okay? Where you at?
Yeah, but I need a splitter to put in the box to split. We'll be all right.
No, you won't.
I got it. I got it.
Y'all, we're getting it together. We're getting it together. We need splitters right now. It's so wonderful to have amazing musicians that are versatile and talented and skillful. Grateful. Grateful. And I'm thankful that you are here hanging out with us as we get it together. Live. This is what live is about. This is what live is about. We've been planning this for a little over a week. We were scheduled to be in Namibia today, and that got paused due to a pause in funding. And so we decided that we didn't want to miss the opportunity to celebrate International Jazz Day with the world. And so we sort of scrambled to put this together. We're in the cave in Marcus Williams' studio in his home. And we're excited to be here. I'm going to introduce them again later, but since we're waiting on some splitters, the sounds that you hear right now are Tony Castillo. And over there in the cut is Myron Foster. And on drums is Marcus Williams, and on sax is Gary Harris. And Gary and Marcus are working out there the sound of things. And I love that Myron is just because Myron is a sound engineer himself, and so I'm sure I appreciate him just being in the corner, like letting them do it because too many chiefs, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Spoil the kettle. Spoil the pot. Yeah. Yeah. So that's called professionalism. Just, look, they know what they're doing. Let me let them do what they know to do. They got it. Oh yeah. So what's happening in your area? What's happening in your country? What's happening in your city? What's happening in your state? What's happening in your part of the world? You can text us. We can respond to your text, your chats, on Zoom, on YouTube. We can do that. And as we're getting it, how's it coming, Marcus?
Okay, we come.
I don't know. Did you hear that? Okay, we come. So. Jazz Day, International Jazz Day, virtual jazz clinic. International Jazz Day call. That required. Wow.
I'll never forget that sound.
We heard a sound. That was a sound. Take it off your ears.
I'll be right back. Oh, that's right. Great time.
You open the door. Well, see, I was trying to go live on you on YouTube. Zoom people just the way.
Uh-huh. Well, I think he just let the Zoom people in. Did he check his own? Make sure he comes through. Man. Sit down. check your mic. You know that. Okay. You recording? I'm going without here. I hear bass. You. Good job.
Woo, this is gonna be interesting.
Repeat. Yeah.
Do a what?
Repeat.
Okay, hopefully the,
I can cut you off there.
they would. And so their phone was better? Oh, wow. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. And so I guess we ask them, what if you can you ask them, is that better? Can you reply and see if that's better? Look, this is a community thing. No. Well, I guess they can. Yes, they can hear me. And so please let us know if the volume's better on your phone. Yes, Tony, keep playing. We can have some little music while we're getting ready. Now, for one that needs to.
I got it. Yeah, I probably like. What'd you say?
Get louder. Yeah,
Yeah.
I cut the volume up on your thing.
Yeah,
So you can turn it down on this thing.
Yes. Yeah. Keep playing.
Turn it down.
Yeah, move this off the side.
Oh, it's this. I'll turn it down. That's my.
Okay. I got my notes. I'm gonna say to folks.
Got notes.
After I introduce everybody, then Gary's gonna talk.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna get into a song. Thank you. Woo, thank y'all for y'all patience. Woo, woo, woo. Y'all like we were planning to do this for lunch, but lunch is almost over. We ready?
Yeah, I guess.
Marcus, let me hear you. Let me hear you. Okay.
He said that snare's kind of hot.
Yeah.
Snare's hot.
Can you adjust that?
So it's actually coming through the whole system. We just can't cut it off.
Oh.
Well, that's
But
gonna be
there's-
interesting. So everybody plays softly.
Yeah.
So
That's
everybody
morning
plays softly,
sunrise.
then we.
Has this morning sunrise.
In the midst of chaos, you must have you.
Everybody's softly, so. Okay, everyone, hello. Welcome to Cedar Tree Worldwide, 7th Annual International Jazz Day Celebration. We're excited that you're here. Thank you so very much for being here. You guys, I wrote my notes. So, Cedar Tree is based in Atlanta, Georgia, and we support international cultural exchange inside and outside of America. My name is America's Songbird, Myrna Clayton, and we are the Myrna Clayton Experience. There's Marcus on drums, Gary on sax, Tony on keys, and Myron holding down the rhythm on the bass. We are commissioned by the U.S. State Department to represent American music at U.S. embassies around the world. We are part of the Arts Envoy program. And each of us uh, have traveled all over the world in our different capacities. And we're excited to share with you one thing about our organization and our group is that not only are we real good at our instruments, but we've got some serious skills beyond our instruments. And that's what we want to share sort of today. So we want you to enjoy what you hear today. And while we talk about and have master classes around the world, today we want to do a jazz clinic where we can kind of deep dive into the thoughts and the minds and the way that musicians think about when they're playing together, and especially in the space of jazz. We love the colors of jazz, the perplexities of jazz, the frequencies and the harmonies, and of course the improvisation of jazz. And so if you can get in the minds of a musician and see why are you doing that and how is that, and at the same time, how are you supporting the song and then bringing your own flavor and your flair, your individual flair to it. And so that's what's important to us as we drill down on this jazz clinic. And so without further ado, we're going to have Gary over tell us a little about the history of jazz and and share some information with you on that. So Gary.
Yeah, jazz has been changed over the year, has changed over the years so much, but it actually started in the 19th century in New Orleans, believe it or not. That's where jazz originated, and developed started by, of course, slaves getting together and doing hymnals and and joyous songs. Can you hear me okay? You hear me okay? Oh.
I want to make sure you sing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm over here in the corner. And so through New Orleans is a coastal town. So of course you got people visiting from all over the world. And so after a while, it started incorporating African rhythms and Caribbean rhythms, and also uh, it started incorporating marching bands from the Civil War time, and so it developed and started mixing up into all that kind of stuff. But of course, jazz is known for its for improvisation, which is Myrna was talking about. And so over time, probably in the 1920s, is when the Roaring Twenties and big bands started coming out, and it started getting more organized. And of course, you organize and you play your melody, but then you improvise over it too. And so the improvisation is what jazz is known for nowadays. But it went through some changes. I'll tell you type of music, type of styles that it went through. In the 20s, it was just swing. And then in the 1940s, bebop came. And bebop was the fast and furious kind of just crazy music. A lot of people call it crazy people music because it was just fast. Like Charlie Parker is well known for bebop. And then after that, in the 40s, probably they call it the cool jazz part, where it's more laid back. Miles Davis played with Charlie Parker on the bebop, but I think he was more known for the cool jazz, the laid back swing. And also modern jazz was in the 40s also. Then you came up with modal jazz. That was in the 50s. And that was I read that it was developed on just modes. When we play music, those who are not musicians, we call our scales modes. And so it was developed just playing modal, which is kind of monotone, I think, too. Then after a while, in the 60s and 70s, you started with jazz fusion, and that's more of the kind of funky style that most of us are used to playing nowadays. But we still go back to our roots and swing, but the fusion is what we know, I guess, about starting in 1960, 1970. And then smooth jazz, of course, was in 1970. And then they started bringing in other forms like Latin jazz and Cuban jazz also. So that's how jazz has developed into what we know it to be now, which is pretty much all encompassing at this point. I mean, you know, you play a Luther Vandross song or instrumental, and they call it jazz nowadays. But
Layla Hathaway said that smooth jazz is instrumental R&B. But
basically,
that's pretty much
basically,
with all due respect.
basically. I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, and we try not to. It used to be disrespectful to call all these things jazz, you know, and of course,
For the
I
purists, it
start
still is.
I started out listening to John Coltrane and Sonny Stitt and Sonny Rollins and all that. And of course, when I was learning and I was learning about jazz, yeah, you didn't call any of this other stuff jazz. But now,
What about you, Marcus? What's your view? What's your view on jazz and
The jazz, I gotta get.
you want to come up or you want to get
come to the podium,
Yeah.
don't you?
And they see me sing. Well, my view on jazz, as far as drums is concerned, is you know, a lot of stuff started in the church, and they playing drums. You know, everybody they didn't have no drums in the church, and they didn't have really no drums even when they were playing blues and other stuff. They were clapping. And so once they started doing this, and somebody had the witty idea to say, let me put a bass drum, get a drum here and put a thing on it, and I can get the snare and pop, pop. And then this start, you know how your mind goes when you start, when you're on to something good. How far can we take this now? And then we add on something else. Maybe I can do add some cymbals. And then it all evolved into what the set that we have today. But of the music evolved through African rhythms. It evolved through just all the whole genres of music that of people in the world too. It my head's cut off. They can't see me. Let me sit down. Hello, everybody. So drums is a different kind of animal. We don't deal with actually notes, chords, but we have to listen to the whole everybody that's doing something. We are actually playing everybody's part in different kind of ways without keeping the rhythm and keeping it exciting. So after jazz, bebop, straight ahead, country, all of that stuff. Yes. Yes, it's like a country. They got a country kind of flavor. They put it in this. Not back then, but they put it in now. So I mean, so far as drums is concerned, it's a different animal than these chord progressions and all of this stuff. It just became techniques that was developed by these geniuses, you know, that were coming up and took the instrument and started just expanding on it and doing what they did, adding two bass drums and all these cymbals and finding these rhythms of how to do stuff. Make your left foot do something totally different than your left hand is doing, and your right hand and it's complicated. It comes out of these things, what they call rudiments now, and it's hard to explain how jazz. What you have to really have to do, yeah, that's a good idea. And well, yeah, to go back and listen to some of these old drummers that just look up jazz greatest drummers from the 50s, 40s, 30s, and then listen to those guys. Oh, let's see. I got well, Buddy Rich was one of them. Steve Gadd, Art Blakey, yes, Art Blakey. Let me see, I got to think of all these names. That's enough. Yeah. So,
All right, and then I'm gonna bring y'all into this conversation.
that's real interesting to hear him talk about how he started with no drums. I can just see that because, you know, think about what I just got finished researching and talking about how it started in these little towns with the slaves and stuff. You know, they didn't have instruments; they were singing and stomping. I'm like, yeah,
Makes sense.
that makes complete sense. Yeah.
So what are we about to sing? What to do? My Funny Valentine?
Yeah.
And what's the rhythm, what we're saying?
Well, we could go, you wanna take it the slow, the traditional way into a funkier one, and then if we can change that into something else like.
Maybe to the bebop,
Yeah,
what do you think? What do you think?
My funny time, bebop.
Yes, let's, it.
That's gonna be interesting. All right, we'll pick a key.
How about, B flat? What vibe is it?
Fine for me, Valentine, sweet comic Valentine. You make me smile with my heart. Yes, you do. Your lips are laughable on the photograph. Yes. Favorite work of art is your pictureless and not if you care. Little Valentine, baby, baby. Each and every day is Valentine. Day.
happened to Bebop? That was a slow bebop. That was a slow
Come
bebop.
up with a speaker over there. Can you turn it up? Okay, bass, yeah. The speaker part, not on live.
Yeah.
So the difference in those two were what?
Funk, we went into a kind of a smooth jazz kind of thing, funk out of the kind of abstract swinging kind of bebop kind of.
Okay.
Because if they can hear me, I don't know. Can
Yep.
you hear me? So if you can tell what I was doing all kind of little stuff that just wasn't just it was keeping the groove, but it was doing these little things just like it's like firework, like something just hit like you're painting. And it's like an abstract painting that you start with a blank canvas and you be like, you just do something there and it just like it kind of fits and everybody vibes on this thing and throw little things in every now and then, not go crazy with it. But that crazy one is that avant-garde jazz, which is way out.
Well, let me get into Myron's head. What were you when you were playing those two different styles? What were you, where were you thinking? Where were you headed?
Was because we were kind of more spatially, kind of playing more open on the beginning. I was just really more laying the foundation under what the keyboard chords were doing. And then once we moved into a style with more of a beat, more of a consistent time, then I started what we call locking up with the drums and really linking the rhythm, because that's what the bass does. The bass links the chords with the rhythm. So because Marcus was playing really more spatially in the beginning, there's not really a rhythm to link to. So I'm just undergirding the chords. And then as he starts establishing something more consistent, then I start tying the two together, working between the chords to tie them with what the drums are. And that's kind of the role of the bass in jazz all the way through, is just to really support and link the rhythm to the chords and the melody.
So are you the glue?
I'm definitely the glue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm the glue, but he's the foundation. I'm the glue between the foundation and the chord or the melody. Yeah.
Okay, what goes through your head when you are when as the glue?
I'm listening in two different directions. So I'm listening like to the rhythm. So once he starts establishing the time, if on the kick drum he's going tick, 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 I'll be playing the rhythm. But then I'll move that same pattern as the chords begin to move. So he's
Okay.
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, take this rhythm and make it move with the chord changes, the time together. And then I'm listening to Gary, and Gary may do something where he may get really aggressive in the solo. So dynamically, I may build the same two things, but now I may start emphasizing to undergird him and help him and with the conversation that he's doing. So
Okay.
it's kind of listening. The way drummers are doing rhythms, multiple rhythms in different hands, I'm trying to listen in multiple directions and link all of those together between the rhythm, the chords, and then dynamically making sure it's moving in a way that complements either the singer or the leader.
Okay, cool. Let's do another one, and let's do something that's a fusion. Okay. Cool. What key and whatever y'all do. E minor.
Now you play the melody because I can't hear you. I can't hear you, so go ahead and just play the melody. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go.
Let's start. I think that we all start.
Yeah, go on. Lift that chair. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
enjoy with everybody else.
Here, we're gonna start with Lee. One, two, three, yeah. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Mic was still on. How'd that sound? No, sounded amazing to me. It was kind of different because I'm hearing the bass in our studio. I'm hearing the bass and the drum and no piano. So it was like a whoop. But I could tell Tony was doing something over there. I couldn't hear it, but I knew it was fabulous. I knew it was fabulous. So Tony, what goes through your head, goes through your mind when you in that particular arrangement, um, and or previously when you did the solo, as a keyboardist, um, what goes through your mind when you're playing the different songs and how you choose to um, uh, link with the band as well as um, showcase your skills.
Okay, well, in this particular tune, this is a Chick Corea out of Spain, and many things go through my mind, but I think the first thing I start thinking is setting up, setting up campaign, setting up, the rhythms that I'm doing, especially this tune in particular, that kind of so, normally with these type of songs, the way I approach it is by playing the head to the so, play some rhythms that are some patterns, jazz patterns, to try to kind of lock in the band. And once we're all locked in, at midpoint, then I'll either go into like a Montuna part, or I'll go into some type of jazz riff or motif where
And so with, when Myron was talking about, timing and chiming in with the chords, how did that, are you listening to him too?
absolutely. But while we're playing in the midst of that, I guess it's something that happens that I don't really think about, which is very natural, especially just having a lot of experience. Then, but the bass actually is the most important foundation while we're playing, at least that style in particular, this game. And primarily because he's carrying the weight of the rhythm and the identity of this style in particular. But when I'm playing a lot of it, I'm conversing with the drums at times. There's hits that, Marcus would be doing where kind of influences my sound. And the same thing with the bass. The bass will switch up, and he might go into a 5 and kind of, change the harmonies, and that'll influence.
Let me ask you this, Myron, when you're improvising, when you're creating in the midst of, like, he's doing chords and he's doing the chorus or the set chord, what makes you think to shift to improv? What inspires you to, and how do you improvise?
Okay.
That's probably the basic question.
Well, I guess there's two different kinds of improvisation. There's improvising where I'm taking a solo, but the improvising that I think probably more important is the improvising where I'm adding to the conversation. So it's almost kind of like in church. The preacher will say something and then somebody will say amen. And so I'm kind of saying an amen or giving little credence to things that they're saying, or even trying to push the conversation. There are times when, like you say, he may be soloing, and I may start swinging the bass line to kind of push him into another area or give him more colors to play with. And same thing with the drums. As I move little things, the whole thing kind of transforms in itself. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking, what can I do to further the conversation, to make more emphasis on what's being said?
And all that's happening while the song is going on.
Yeah, and like he was saying, to his point, after what you're really trying to get to where you're not thinking about it. So the thinking about it part comes more from practicing, and then you practice it so much that when you get into the moment, you kind of have a bag of things that you can pull from. So you try not to think too much, because then it becomes it doesn't feel natural. If you're putting too much thought into it in the moment, but you're really, as the feeling, the vibe is moving around, then you're pulling out of that bag to further, like I said, the conversation. The same way, it's because music is a language, and jazz is a language.
Yeah.
So we're talking now. I didn't practice all of the things that I'm talking about, but I'm using my vocabulary to further the conversation. So it's the same way.
I love that, because the conversation, and something you said that everybody needs to hear. You practice and have your bag of tricks ready.
Yes.
You practice at home and bring out your bag of tricks to be able to showcase when it's time to perform at collectively.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
And it's to help, not to show off. And sometimes people practice to have a bag of tricks, and they're saying, well, I've got all these things I want to show, and then they force things into the moment. But this is more having a wide vocabulary, so that at any point I can speak in a way that complements without taking away. So definitely you're practicing. That's why musicians, I think I heard a number one time that we spend almost 85% of our time practicing, and we only spend like 10% of our time actually performing. But that time spent is so that we have the vocabulary that we use while we're performing, and so we can use it without having to think in the moment. We can just pull from it as the conversation
You know, that's something that I often will say to people because, you know, doctors are practicing and lawyers are practicing and they get a certain level of valuing because of the knowledge that they have. And too often musicians, while we practicing, I would argue practicing far more than doctors and lawyers, but practicing, and there's not necessarily a great value for musicians and artists. And I also am a huge proponent that we're always on the front line of social change because we're experiencing it first. And so I'm on a mission to have folks to value artists. Too often people don't value artists, and it's the creativity, it's the improvisation, it's the problem solving that happens on stage every time. And so just kind of got off my soapbox with that, but for sure, you're hearing a conversation, not only the language that we're using in terms of our American English, but the conversation between the instruments. And the first instrument was the voice. so for us singers, this is an instrument. And so which is always something that I've always wondered about the musicians union. Like the first instrument was the voice. Why aren't singers in the musicians union? Don't understand that part, but that's a whole nother thing, you know. That's a whole nother thing that we're just kind of putting out there. But anyway, I want to let's do another tune. Okay. Cool. Now, in this case, what's the flavor? And I want to kind of establish that a bossa, and then go into what another something that's
Swing, straight up swing.
okay. Cool. I like that. A bossa and then a swing. Or do you think it should go swing and then bossa? Swing and then bossa. Marcus over here. Can y'all see Marcus' brain moving? Can you see his brain moving? Just want to make sure that that's noticed. I'm
We could take it fast lane.
to a fast swing. Okay, you see this going on, right? I'm just getting out the way so you can appreciate what's going on right now.
Kind of
Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping. Ooh, the cotton is high. Dad is rich. Your mama's good. You know your mama's so good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. Oh, one of these mornings, gonna rise up singing. You're gonna spread your wings, and take to the sky. But all that while your dad and your mom stand.
Mark, did you see? No. Did you hear Marcus give us rhythm? Marcus said back to the bossa. Wow, that was kind of nice. Look at Yeah.
Think and go away, come out, and just take it somewhere and feel it. Everybody feel it, and that's what makes the whole thing just like say.
And so inside of your mind, Mark,
Mhm.
inside of your mind, you are in those between bossa nova and the swing, up tempo swing, and the shifting and and while you were soloing, just kind of give our audience a flavor and a taste of what you were thinking as you were.
Yeah, first I was establishing a feel. Sometimes you start out, you may not have everybody, you got to, when everybody kind of is in, you kind of feel how they're feeling. To them, you move, you make subtle adjustments, like you, and you go. You see, then once I got into that, and everybody was singing, so, and then I was like, okay, we go into this, getting ready. It's got to be a certain bill, or to go into this next part because it's like really energetic. So we build the boss up more, and then we go in there, but that's still in that beat. It's still in the beat, and you're still in the same tempo, but you just double it. And then coming out after we've done all of that, and I figured I just felt it in when I did the solo. It's like it's time to bring it down and establish where everything is. You heard me, and then bring it soft, and then we come back into it. It's just how I felt for it, how.
That was so nice. You should have seen Gary's face. It just smiled. You just this big grin. And that's what I was talking about, the colors of jazz and the frequencies and the perplexities. It's all mixed in there. And I don't think any other music form gives you that liberty to do that. It may be in there, but it's not almost expected.
To your first, when you started out, you were talking, Gary was talking about the different styles and where they went,
Yeah.
and how, like you said, Layla said that smooth jazz is really instrumental R&B. I think that's why jazz gets smeared across all the genres. Because once you take a genre and take liberties with it outside of just the way the song was written, they just say that's jazz because the jazz way is to take liberty. So what we do is we break away from the structure of the writer as far as, it may be a country song and they may have just written it with words, and we may replace the singing with the saxophone. But then we also take liberties within the confines of the song, so the song is still recognizable, but we can really take it all the way to the far reaches of both sides. It may be more rock, it may be more pop. I mean, even there's polka jazz. But I think the reason why they put that on it is because they're taking liberty within that initial genre. Because jazz came out of blues, right? Blues was the first stage, gospel, yeah. And so that taking liberty with those two, and then as other things have become introduced, like the Latin jazz and all that stuff, it's the taking the liberty, but at the same time being respectful of the initial structure of it. Yeah, that makes it quote unquote jazz.
Yeah, I always tell people jazz is very structured. It's very structured. Otherwise, we can't play together. It has its structure, and then there's liberty within the structure. Yeah. So Gary, now when you're doing your solo and you're thinking and all this wonderful rhythm is going on behind you and beside you, what stimulates, what's in that improv that you want to express for the listener, and for that expresses you for that listener? Because you're like a singer, you're like the vocalist,
Yeah.
and then you come in and be the background singers. You're the all of that. And so what is that for you?
My role is typically twofold. The first role I usually have is when I'm playing with a vocalist, is to accompany a vocalist, is to not get in the way. Don't play when you're singing, and try to play something that complements what you sang. And you have to take your time and think about it. And when a vocalist says something, you don't just, it's like having a conversation. You know, if you go do booty boat, I should go instead of you say ba ba da ba, I go da 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 da. It has nothing to do with the conversation at all. So I have to think about that first of all. And then the second role is when I get to express myself, and that's when I'm thinking, what key are we in? What style are we in? And what are these guys playing? And now I'm trying to compliment what they're doing. Again, it's still a language, it's a conversation, but I get to express myself a little more, so I can put things in there that may not make complete sense, but it doesn't matter as much as when I accompany a vocalist.
One of my dear friends, his name is Maurice Watkins. He used to be in. He calls it the Rhythm Nation, and he's just one of my. He's been with back in the day in the 70s and 80s in record sales and promotions for the major record labels, and one of the things that he always talks about is how the instrumentation, that romances the singer, and I love that phrasing, romancing the singer, because it's because we're all there, and as a singer, I love to just kind of be able to lean back and know that I'm supported in that way. It's such a wonderful thing. Where are we on time? Okay. Well, we may have gotten started late, but it's 1:30. And we have committed to be here to 1:30. Is there anything that you guys would like to express to our listening audience that we haven't necessarily that came to your mind that you want to share as it relates to jazz and the significance of International Jazz Day, or just international jazz, or just the whole place of jazz in the world, not even America, but in the world. So,
I had a note that I took down
okay.
that I thought was pretty interesting. Do you know who established International Jazz Day and when?
Herbie Hancock and UNESCO.
So,
Herbie Hancock Institute
so
and UNESCO.
United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization.
UNESCO. UNESCO. Yes.
Check that. When I said UNESCO, I was like, what is that? So, of course, I went to Google UNESCO. That's interesting. It was established
By the United
in
Nations.
2011. 2011.
So it's 23. I mean, it's 13
Yeah.
years this year.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really interesting because I've heard International Jazz Day forever and forever. But I was like, okay, so who actually established International Jazz Day? I mean, Herbie Hancock.
And UNESCO and United Nations.
In there.
Yes, yes. And so there it's international. What were you going to say, Marcus? I saw this this look
Yeah,
on your
yeah.
face. Everybody gets a last word here. So
All the stuff that we've said about playing and music and having chops and all of this stuff, it's almost like if you have a home and you just buy all this stuff and you walk in your home and it's just not organized, it's stuff everywhere. Good stuff though. It's good stuff. But it's not doing anything for it. You got to know where to place stuff. Oh, this looks good here. Or you got to know when to do stuff. And this comes from here. So a lot of people get mixed up with trying to learn these techniques, and if you got to hear it in your heart. You got to feel it when you're playing with these music, because it's a international. This music is the only thing that we can get somebody from every country in the world and put us all on stage with the instrument, and we will come up and we will speak to each other in that language. Just feel it's from here. So the real musicians that people adore so much and just say they're geniuses, it's because they're passionate and about their instrument, and they really feel what they play. And when you're singing and you do something, it's just some stuff that you do just make I gotta push you with this. I'm feeling what that did. He'll do something. And everybody is feeling this thing. It's like when you're outside and the weather's starting to change. Like, oh, it's getting a little windy. All right, some of the things start feeling. Well, we got to do. It's a whole feeling. That's how music does. It seems like the weather. It could be calm and beautiful, but nice. It's from here. So everything that you learn, if you learn something from me, don't try to do it like I do it or put it where I put it, because you won't. You gotta feel it. Just feel it.
Okay. All right, Myron.
My takeaway would be, my comment would be, I was surprised to see the numbers on how much time we spend practicing, which means the times that we do get a chance to perform, or even just practicing with other people. Because to me, the band practice is the first performance. You practice at home, that's not really a performance. But the first time you sit down with other musicians, because you have to take in consideration the time that they've spent and the time that you spent, that's really the first performance, if it's just for the audience of each other. So in each of those performances, enjoy yourself. Sometimes we get so enamored with trying to be at a certain level that we're shooting for the stars. Sometimes we get the moon. But like you said, International Jazz Day, it doesn't matter where we are. People are enjoying this music everywhere, whether they're playing it, whether they're listening to it. So as we come together, I just encourage everybody, in every situation that you get a chance to play, so much trying to impress the audience as much as you worry about trying to share something with the audience. And the other musicians on stage, sharing with each other. And I think, like you said, that's the power of music. And I think if we're going to give an example to the world, bring what you have and share it with each other. Don't worry so much about what somebody's going to give you. Don't worry about so much about somebody's color or somebody's background or whatever. In the moment that we're together and we're sharing space, give to one another, and we'll all come out richer.
That's wonderful. That'll preach.
That is.
Um, when you said practice and coming together as the first performance, can I just kind of put something out here? Ooh, when folks come to rehearsal and don't come prepared, that's a downer for everybody. It's a downer for everybody because okay, now we've got to take extra time for that as opposed to everybody coming and knowing. And it also extends rehearsal and all of that, and it's like unnecessarily. But if everybody had come prepared, then we would have hit it and quit it and had so much more fun. You know, I also hear from you guys, musicians. A lot of times they'll ask me, "So who's on the gig?" Who's on the gig? Because that determines how hard you got to work,
Yeah.
or is it going to be fun?
Yeah.
I've learned these things, and so it's very mindful, you know, that the audience doesn't know anything about that, but the musicians, and so everybody is blending and coming to perform, but not show out for you, but to have a wonderful experience for the entire audience, and for us all to elevate together. And so I I appreciate that because I was like, yeah, I need to say that. I need to say that. But for sure, just the real when it all. Okay, Tony, what out of what we discussed today, or something that we didn't cover that you think that we need to make sure we covered?
Okay, well, my takeaway because I'm thinking about how I got into music and how this all came. The most important thing has been even my experience when I first went to Berklee College, where I got in there at 16, starting to jam. And that's the most important thing, the jamming, the social connection, the music was something I developed there, which was like, even just coming into this room with these guys, we're all connected and you can't visually see, but you can feel it. And it's instant. The minute he starts playing, it's a lot. But that doesn't happen because you practice at your house. That happens because you were in an environment with musicians who are better than you, or musicians who are looking for that. And for me, I think that's the biggest thing is my playing is only as good as the that connection I have with the musicians I'm with. So my takeaway is I urge everyone, hey, yeah, practice, but get into a jam session. Make sure you're playing with different people, playing with different styles, and trying to expand your vocabulary with it. In my experience, I've done world music, I've done Arabic, I've done Latin, jazz, gospel as well. So expand your horizons.
Well, thank you for that. Let's kind of go around the room and shout out, some of the countries where we performed in, and then I'll close it out. But what some places that you love to go back to again, or or some places that you want to go but we haven't gone yet. So so any
Shout them out.
where would you like to go? That would be that. Okay, that's a better one. Where would we like to go? Brazil. Okay, Brazil. Okay, that's one. What about another?
Why they go to Japan?
Japan. Okay.
Took it out of
Japan. Okay. Brazil, Japan. Okay.
I've always heard about how much I've been to Europe yet, but I've heard how much they appreciate jazz stuff in Europe. And I would love to,
Okay.
get a chance to experience that firsthand.
Yes, well, some of us have performed and we can confirm that yes, there is great appreciation for that. And I just like to just giving the voice of a singer, of a vocalist, for a vocalist when performing with a live band versus tracks. The main thing that I've experienced is you must know the melody. and you must know all of that, because one of the times when I've performed with bands, because when you're at a jam session or if you're at someplace and people don't know you and they don't know what you do, there's a whole bunch that's going on behind you that may not necessarily be what you're familiar with. And so as long as you know the melody and you're singing the melody, then um then it can come together. I've also been in situations where the band wasn't that great at a jam session, and and I get up to sing and I don't know what the heck they're doing behind me, but the audience isn't aware. And so I've got to make sure that I'm not turning around looking like, what are y'all doing? I'm not, responding to what they're not doing, but I'm staying focused, because the minute I do that, the audience is going to wonder what's going on. And they're also going to probably blame me, for the problem, as opposed to the musicians. And so my thing is to just keep going with the melody. Um, and if for whatever reason, which is not unusual for me, to kind of flub on a lyric, keep going, or make up my own words to it, that's consistent with the message of the song. And then, just as a person who does scatting and improvisation as a singer, just want to take a few seconds to talk about that, because the person that's most famous for scatting is Ella Fitzgerald. And a lot of times people wonder, well, how do you scat? How do you scat? Well, Ella Fitzgerald was imitating a trumpet. And so she was trying to make the sounds and the sounding and the rhythms of a trumpet. And others may listen and try to imitate a saxophone or a trombone or the piano or the drums. And so that's where scatting kind of leans into. And so when it's not something that's contrived or shooby dooby doo, it's not that. And it's the sound. And so you're opening your mouth and you're imitating an instrument, is what scatting is all about. I do a master class on scatting, but the main core is you are really wanting to make sounds of an instrument. And so whatever that instrument sounds to you, along with being in key and doing and mindful of the melody and the structure of the song, then that's what you're doing when you're scatting. And so we're excited that you joined us today. International Jazz Day being celebrated around the world, started in 2011 from UNESCO. Gary, what's the full title now? UNESCO, United Nations Education, Science, Culture.
United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization.
And does that not sound fabulous that international jazz is connected with education, scientific,
Culture.
and culture? That's powerful. That is so powerful. And so jazz is where it's at. We appreciate you guys coming with us. We are the Myrna Clayton Experience. This is Gary Harris, Marcus Williams, Myron Foster, Tony Castillo. Again, my name is Myrna Clayton. We're grateful that you're here, and you guys give it up for Gary Harris for setting up this Zoom and and between he and Marcus working it out. Thank you for your patience from us kind of working it out and figuring it out at the very beginning. As you can see, live is for real live. All right. Thank you. Thank y'all. Thank you. Y'all were good. It's done. The 7th annual International Jazz Day. Once again. Thank you, Mark.